Jeff Paul, thank you very much for that. Senator Bill Cassidy, the Louisiana Republican, kind enough to join us on the phone right now. Senator, how are things looking there?
Hey, Neil, we are in LaPlace waiting to join the president for his walk around the neighborhood. And there's homes in which there is power line. The power line has fallen on top of the home and, of course, damaging the home, but clearly indicating there's no power. And so this was one of the places hardest hit. So on the other hand, as your reporter said, there's other places that weathered it. The levees held. New Orleans, JP, Jefferson Parish, a couple other places. The land is dry. There's actually some good storyline in here.
You know, few predicted the damage that this storm would inflict, but it does seem that levees in particularly the New Orleans area held up, that a lot of the expense that folks in your state and federally sponsored went to after Katrina made this a much less tragic type of storm than it could have been, at least in Louisiana.
Absolutely. Now, of course, if you're in areas like Houma and Thibodaux, you were hammered. But where we put in systems and built resilience, the resilience worked. And now we need to start building resilience, not just for levees and flooding, but also for the power system. I spoke to the president when he landed. We spoke about the infrastructure bill. If we bury the power lines, they don't blow down in storms. And so that way, when the storm passes over, levees work, no flooding, power's intact, life goes on. Ultimately, it's cheaper to do it that way. It costs more not to do it that way.
You know, Senator, you took heat from former President Trump and others when you joined 18 of your Republican colleagues to vote in a bipartisan manner for that infrastructure package. I'm talking the smaller one, the roughly $1.2 to $1.3 trillion one. You have not signed on as yet to the $3.5 trillion human infrastructure package. But storms like these and the damage we've seen going all the way up to the Northeast seem to confirm your view that we need to do this.
Absolutely. One, to be clear, I've already voted against the $3.5 trillion. But we got to kind of move beyond politics. We can't care about who gets credit. We got to take care of the American people. When George W. Bush made a commitment to build those levees, 16 years later, we benefit. We need to make the commitment now to harden the grid. To bury those lines is one example of how it can do so, which not only protects Louisiana in a hurricane, it protects Texas in the Northeast in the ice storm. It protects the far west from forest fires, from sparks coming off of a power line in the middle of a dry, hot forest. That's the way to build resiliency. Let's move beyond politics and let's actually get something done for the American people.
You know, yesterday when the Northeast was experiencing all of this and the tragic deaths that ensued, I believe 50 at late count, Senator, Chuck Schumer had said this is the reason why we need to be on top and deal with climate change. This is the reality. What did you make of that? What do you make of it?
Well, first, the infrastructure bill actually funds projects that were passed under the last Congress, the Republican-led Senate Congress, which President Trump signed into law. Things that would lower carbon intensity in our economy, again, authorized last Congress, signed into law by Trump, funded with this bill. So theoretically, if you voted for that bill, you're for this bill. And we actually begin to lower the carbon intensity of at the same time, preserving a modern economy with all the chemicals and fossil fuel that we need. So Schumer and I may agree because he supported the bill, so do I. I think it's a good bill for many reasons, resiliency, but also for funding those projects that a Republican Senate passed last year.
Senator, you made quick reference to the fact you're not a fan of the $3.5 trillion spending measure. In fact, voted against that. It's got a long, way to go. But your colleague Joe Manchin has talked about the price tag on a $3.5 trillion, that it has to go a lot lower than that. Is it your sense that this will be cut down to size, but that it will still pass, or that it's kind of limping along?
I hope it fails. This is the economic equivalent of our withdrawal from Afghanistan. We've got inflation year over year higher than it's been in decades, and we're about to add $3.5 trillion, not for hard infrastructure like our bill, which would take a few years to build, but with a multi-decade payoff. No, let's just infuse a lot of cash into an overheated economy now. Again, once more, an economic Afghanistan withdrawal. I'm hoping the bill completely stops.
Senator Cassidy, I know you're very busy today and going to be with the president today, so we appreciate the time you took to call us. Senator Bill Cassidy,